This morning I'd like to show you how I split a design into three bands of color. And there's some things I want to do differently this time. I had used a back stitch to go around the lettering as a final step. This time I want to look at it with a satin stitch, so I'll keep that in mind, the border to be changed in the one that I begin now. So I've opened a new page that I'm going to be um, placing this design. Also going to go to the artwork canvas. I am working in the Bernina Embroidery Software Designer Plus version 9. Now, with it came a standalone art program, Corel Draw Special Edition, that has a few more tools than Art Canvas does. So I'm going to use it this morning. So I'll file and import. I'll find my art. It happens to be a PNG. This gives it a transparent background, and place it. Now you want to think about your final sew out. What size do you want this to be? And I didn't want to sew it out quite this large. It's almost 9.5 inches. So with proportional lock in place, I will change this to 7 inches, and notice that it did have 6.25, but when I touch the enter key, it proportionally changes the size of my embroidery for me. I'll then hit Control, All, Control, Copy to copy it to my Windows clipboard. And now I've come to the embroidery software, and I'm just toggling between the two for every step that I do. Control V to set it in place. And I'm going to go ahead and center this, because we're in embroidery software now, so we're thinking about hoops and how we want things to fit together. Now with everything selected, I'll hit convert, and this won't sew nicely for me. You've got some breaks from where the artist created the word art. It's not a font. It never was for me. It was a complete design. So with everything selected, I'm going to change it to a fill stitch. When I touch H, you can see it's got some wild directions. I'll hit escape to get out of that. Select the entire design. I'm going to go ahead and break it apart. I'm trying to get rid of some of these separations. There's still one there, so I'm not through yet. Select everything. We'll hit weld, and that got rid of some of them, but it also messed this up, didn't it? Let's go back one. Let's go ahead and remove the stitch angles and see if that helps it. I've still got a separation, so let's try weld. That got rid of that one. And earlier when I was playing, I kept getting one here that I never could get rid of, and I'm thinking that break apart helped take that away. What I did to resolve it earlier is I took this piece, and using the stitch edit, I made it one whole piece, and then deleted the little section that I never could weld. But this one welded fine. With everything selected, I want to be sure that this is in the center of my page, center of my hoop, so I'm hitting 0, 0. Wasn't much off. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change this to a gold, and that helps you and I both see it better. And I had used the outline. It's under edit, the outlines and offsets, to do this as a final step before, but I'm going to go ahead and take care of it now, and I'll just kind of set it aside. But with everything selected, I'll go to outlines and offsets, and I'll probably have a black satin line this time. I used the back stitch before, but I'd like to look at this. And I want it to go around everything. And we'll touch OK. It's telling me it defaults to 3, and that's 3 millimeters is going to be far too wide for this. So I'm great with that. Thank you for doing that for me. And do I even want to take it further? Object properties. 1.2 is the smallest that you'd want to go. 1.5 is not bad. I'll split the difference, maybe go 1.3 millimeters and apply. And that lightens it up just a little bit. I'm great with that. Let's go ahead and save this. I've just got it saved as New Orleans. Control S to save it. And am I still centered? Control All. A little bit off. Let's fix it. Okay. Now we're going to ignore this for now, and we'll keep pushing it down the line as we don't need it. So to get my color splits, I went back to Corel Draw, and I'm going to use the crop tool. And I found I've done this several times, so I know about where I want this to split now. My goal was to go in the middle of the E. So now I need to say yes, crop that. Control copy. That puts it on my Windows clipboard. Going to go back to Artwork Canvas. And Control V. Oh, it brought everything in. Okay, let's go back. I must not have really grabbed it. Let's go back to Corel Draw. Control C. Try this once again. Control V. I used no that time just to get what I wanted. I'll convert this to stitches. Change this to the purple. I'm going to basically follow the same steps. I want to fill in under the edit. I'm going to go ahead and break it apart. I don't see any odd places, but we'll do that just to be sure. I want to select everything, and I'm going to remove stitch angles. I took it too far, didn't it? Let's weld it. That's new to version 9. And now remove stitch angles. I do want everything to sew at a 45-degree angle so that they're not pulling across with the fabric grain. And for now, I will line this up . I'll go back to my Corel Draw. From here, I want my entire design again. Now I'll crop the lower part. And where that's going to be, I found that I like this to be cropped between this section of the A. So I'm going to start just kind of right here where I want it. And you'll find that this is easy to get exactly what you want in your crop. Let's take a little bit more. That's going to give me a clean crop with everything. I'm using my pick tool is what they'll call it in Corel Draw. There we go. so that I've got everything selected. Control C for copy to my clipboard. I'll come back to our canvas. Control V. And I'm just moving this up out of the way. Now I'm going to convert this to stitches. Again, we'll take it to fill. Under the edit tab, we'll do break apart, select everything, and weld, and then remove the stitch angles. I'll change it to green and set it in place. Now, I don't want it to oversew the gold, and I don't want to use remove overlaps, because I do want just a slight bit of overlap so that I don't get a gap where these two colors are pulling against each other. So what I'll do is hide my purple. Now I'll unhide it. I'm going to select just the gold. I want to see where that breaks, and I'm touching 0 on my keyboard to get this large enough to use. I want to be sure that everything's lined up a little better. Nudging with my arrow key. Let's do hide this for now because it's difficult to see. There we go. Now we can see if I'm lined up as I want to be. Nudge, nudge, nudge to the left. Maybe nudge down. Don't hit the whole thing. Back, back. Select the entire piece. And now nudge down. And that's covering the yellow well. Okay. So my next step is to take the knife tool to the gold and cut it. And where I want to cut, so that I get just a slight overstitch, so I'm going to cut just above with the yellow. Let's just do it. Knife. You can see that you have your lines. Now if you'll use your control key, you can get a straight about there. And I'm using the control key, as I said, and there. That gives me a straight line. And so now what I'll do in the New Orleans, now I'll go ahead and hide this. Now I can see the breaks. So these I will delete, and I'm using the delete key on my keyboard. I'm going to leave these because that's going to let that sew continuously without breaking, without stopping and trimming. So it's going to sew a little faster on my machine. I'm going to do the same thing with the green, using the knife, holding control. I'll select where I want it to begin. Holding control constrains the line, and then enter cuts it. Let's hide the green so that I can see the yellow or the gold easily. There I can see where the knife cut everything. And I'm going to get rid of this lower portion. I can leave that. That's fine because it's going to be covered with green later. I think that's fine. And you can see that when you use the knife tool, it does break the direction at times. And that can stay. But this needs to go. Okay. Now I haven't saved in a while, so let's hit Control S to save. And I'm going to unhide all. Great. Not seeing any trouble spots, so now I'll move my border to the bottom. And to watch the sew, let's go ahead and center it. It's going to sew the gold first. Now, for as far as the border, I would prefer a center line. So under the underlay, I would prefer this to be a center walk and apply. Another thing I wish I had done on the other one was look at the underlay. Now, the gold I'm going to leave as is, pretty sure. Let's double check. It's a step fill, and the underlay is a step. That's going to be fine. But I want my lines a little crisper on the purple and the green. So when I select them, and go to the underlay, step is great, but I want it as my second. I want an edge walk, and then I want the step. That's just going to give me a cleaner line. Control Z, I touched it. That's going to give me a cleaner line on the edge. And then I'll do the same thing with the green. Object properties, the effects. Underlay is going to be a edge walk. Then it will be a step. Apply and OK. And that's not too bad. 27, almost 28,000 stitches. So that's going to be pretty. And there's my actual size. I did not want a border here, and so that's why the reason that I went ahead and did my border to begin with, but I knew that I was going to actually sew it at the end. Thanks for watching.